joined today by Marcia, Laura, and Tanel. They were close personal friends of Kristen French before she was murdered savagely by Paul Bernardo. Bernardo, of course, is a mass rapist and child murderer. Marcia received a troubling phone call from Kristen French's family roughly a week ago, in which they indicated they had got a phone call from corrections that Mr. Bernardo had been moved to a medium security institution. This is obviously unacceptable and outrageous. He'll have more freedom, more interaction with other people, inmates, prison personnel, possibly even allowed to have visitors. This not only puts other people in danger, but it represents harassment for the families of the victims who have to get these kinds of calls. They also have to testify every 2 years at Mr. Bernardo's parole hearings. This is 31 years after this monster did his horrific crimes, that he is still haunting the families. And that is why I'm so thankful to these three brave women who continue to be loyal to the friend that they lost in standing up against this monster and against the flaws in the prison system. I should note that the Trudeau government has the power today to reverse this decision under Section 6.1 of the Corrections and Conditional Release Act. A Minister of Public Safety can direct the Commissioner to classify an entire group of prisoners as requiring maximum security detention. Ministers of Public Safety have issued these types of directives in the past, so there is precedent for it. So Justin Trudeau and Marco Mendicino do have the power to reverse this decision now. We call on them to do that. But we're going further, because since this outrage became known, Trudeau has done nothing. So we're introducing a bill that would ban the Trudeau government from moving multiple murderers, mass murderers, into medium security. The Conservative bill would require every mass murderer serve out their full sentence in maximum security. This is a bill that will come forward from Tony Baldinelli, a member of Parliament from the Niagara region, a strong voice from whom you'll be hearing shortly. So once again, I want to thank these three brave women who continue to stand loyally for their friend and for justice. And I want them to know that they have allies in the official opposition and right across Canada. This is a common sense change as part of our agenda to bring home safety for all Canadians. And we encourage the government to pass this Conservative bill without delay, with unanimous consent, to reverse this outrageous decision. And thank you. I'd like to now welcome Marcia to come to the mic and offer her thoughts, and then we'll be hearing from Member of Parliament Tony Baldinelli. Thank you.
We want to extend our deepest gratitude to Tony and Pierre for bringing forth this legislation. This legislation is not only extremely important to us personally, it's imperative to every single victim and their families going forward. We need to bring justice back to the victims and their families for once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia, and thank you, Leader. The name Paul Bernardo in our community is synonymous with evil. He's a monster, and he should be in maximum security in prison. About a week ago, I was contacted by Marcia to pass along the concerns of the family, the shock, the horror, the revulsion of the decision by Correctional Services of Canada to transfer Paul Bernardo to minimum security. And she asked that we raise the issue, that we criticize the issue, we bring publicity to the issue, and that if we could take steps to change this decision, that we act on it. And thankful to the Leader's office, to my shadow critic colleagues, Rachel Dancho and Rob Moore, for them working with myself to work quickly to develop a private member's bill that we could bring forward to change this decision. So moving forward, decisions such as Paul Bernardo can never be made again. Thank you.
Poilievre, on Bernardo, and we'll ask you about the special rapporteur issue in a moment, but on the Bernardo case, there is a minority opinion, according to public opinion polling, but it's a substantial minority of people who would like to see a death penalty in cases as heinous as Mr. Bernardo's. If that were the case, we wouldn't be going through this situation on prison transfers. I know some past caucus colleagues of yours in the Reform Party supported private members' bills to reinstate the capital punishment. Never heard you on it before. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I certainly understand the sentiment. I'm not pronouncing on that today. My view today is that what we have in front of us is a problem where a monster who is the personification of pure evil is being given more freedom and presenting greater risk, and that he should be back in a maximum security penitentiary, and that no killer of this type should ever be released from maximum security. In fact, he should leave in a coffin. So that's what I'm prepared to say on that right now.
Mr. Poilievre,
Thank you.
the House doesn't sit for much longer, only 2 more weeks. So
Yeah.
if the government ignores Mr. Baldinelli's bill, are there any other options?
Well, the option is for every Canadian to call Justin Trudeau's office and tell him to pass this common sense bill now. Trudeau has the ability to put Bernardo back in a maximum security penitentiary. He has the power. All he needs is the will. He can do it today. If he doesn't, we encourage all members of the public, every Canadian who cares about justice, to call Trudeau's office and urge him to have his caucus unanimously adopt this common sense conservative bill to keep mass murderers in maximum security penitentiaries.
Are you able to work with the New Democrats and Locke in order to come up with terms of references for a public inquiry, timeline, person you want to see at the head of that?
Yes, 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 and yes.
Oh, okay. So when, I guess, have you started discussions with these parties?
I'll be reaching out early next week to talk with them about all of those things.
What did you think of what Minister LeBlanc said? He's opening the door, obviously, to a public inquiry. What did you make of that?
Well, it's what we've been asking for months now. Trudeau should have called this half a year ago, but he's been covering up the help he received from Beijing in multiple elections, the donations the Trudeau Foundation received from Beijing. We want him to end the cover-up, call a public inquiry, and I will work with our opposition colleagues to make sure that the person who fills that role is independent and unbiased in doing a thorough and public investigation.
How will you know they're independent? Like, what will tell you they're independent?
That we want to make sure there are no ties to the Trudeau family, no relationship to the Beijing-financed Trudeau Foundation, no other compromising relationships with a foreign dictatorship, any foreign dictatorship for that matter, and someone who has a track record of nonpartisanship and neutrality.
Do you have any names?
We're working on that right now.
Could
you repeat in French what you think of what Minister LeBlanc said yesterday? Well, we've been asking the Trudeau government for 6 months to do a public inquiry, and they did nothing. So Mr. Trudeau is trying to hide the truth because of Trudeau Foundation received Beijing aid in 2 elections. Why did Beijing give them $140 million, I think? Why does Trudeau always try to name members of that foundation for the inquiry? We want a public inquiry with an independent, politically neuter person who has no links to any dictatorship overseas.
A long time, longer than the 5-month public hearings that Mr. Johnston had proposed. Are you concerned that if there was a public inquiry convened, that it could take years, and in that period, be hard to have another election campaign because these issues involving the interference in elections is still unresolved? And effectively, Mr. Trudeau calls a public inquiry to span 2 to 3 years.
Right.
How do you have an election?
No, it's a good point. I think he needs to call it right away. He needs to get someone who's job ready, and we need to have terms of reference that have tight timelines to have the hearings occur as quickly as possible and get all the truth on the table before the next election happens. The last thing we need, as you said, the last thing we need is for the truth to continue to be hidden in the next election. So there's no accountability, but worse yet, there could once again be foreign interference in the next election. So we need this public inquiry to be called immediately, and we need it to be on tight time frames so that it gets its findings to the Canadian people so that we can prevent this kind of interference from ever happening again.
And a broader mandate than just Chinese interference? Are you
Sure.
prepared to look at Russian, Iranian,
I have no problem with
Indian?
any of that.
Mr.
No
Poilievre,
problem with any
I
of that.
don't know if you've commented on this, maybe you did and I didn't hear it, but it's Pride Month. Are you going to be in a Pride parade?
Well, I'm going to celebrate with gays and lesbians the freedom that we have in Canada to be yourself without discrimination, free from bigotry and bashing. And I'll be joining with all Canadians to celebrate the fact that that gays and lesbians have the freedom in this country to live their lives and raise their families in peace, in safety, and in acceptance. And I'll let you know once my schedule is more clear on how we'll do that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
June 24th.